Hello, this is Lights126 Reloaded. From some recent news that I gathered, it seemed like Michael Bay will take up the Transformers movie franchise, and yet again it will be rebooted, just like the DC Cinematic Universe. Transformers The Last Night has been a testimony on corporate greed. It was said that Steven Spielberg advised Michael Bay after the third movie, Transformers Dark of the Moon, to stop. But Paramount, the studio, wanted Michael Bay to continue to make more Transformers movies. He admitted that he was burnt out from making those movies. And you can really see that all over The Last Night. Maybe Paramount really did deserve the loss. Hashtag The Last Night lost money. Even though it made more than Bumblebee 2018, Rise of the Beast, and Transformers 1, in comparison to the movies prior, Dark of the Moon and Age of Extinction making over $1 billion, The Last Night only made 600 million plus at the box office. What did this say as an IP back in 2017? People have had enough, and the people have had enough of Michael Bay. But it seems like the old itch has came back. There are also those who really appreciate Michael Bay's style on the Transformers. Those who grew up on his movies are now older, and to them, Michael Bay coming back is a sense of hope for this franchise to be restored back to its former glory. But is that opinion the majority, especially after so long? It has been 8 years since the release of The Last Night, given failure after failure. Maybe it's time to go back to old methods, Michael Bay methods. But here's the thing, his last movie was indeed a bust, a failure. How is that a guarantee? It's not. But what is convincing is the movies that came prior, especially the first three movies. Though critics hate Revenge of the Fallen and don't appreciate Dark of the Moon, there is still a majority of people that went out and spent money on those movies. So there was definitely an audience. So a name like Michael Bay that has been entertaining to a majority of people seems reasonable, right? It seems reasonable to bring him back, in spite of the last movie that he did, a total failure. But what is that in comparison to his sum of movies? Can you really disagree that Transformers between 2007 and 2017, in that time frame of Michael Bay's reign on the Transformers movies, that franchise was not recognizable? Can you say that it wasn't known, that it wasn't popular? Can you say that? No. The toys were hot. The games, there's games off of these movies. The merchandise, endless Bumblebee merch, endless Optimus Prime merch. You cannot deny that. But it's also wise to affirm the critique on those movies, especially his last Transformers movie. What if Michael Bay makes a new movie and it fails? What if that fatigue all the way back post Age of Extinction still remains? This is indeed a desperate call to reclaim greatness. Paramount and the like knows that this franchise is lucrative. Let me remind that Michael Bay has had a hand in producing the movies after The Last Night. So when looking at it, it seemed like maybe Michael Bay learned a couple of things having other men direct the Transformers. But here's one last thing to note. The traction from Age of Extinction is long gone. You see The Last Night with its failure come after, right after Age of Extinction 2017 to Age of Extinction 2014. It was the sequel, but it made less money. But the movies afterwards made even less. And it was shaping the identity of the Transformers movie franchise. So the momentum from Age of Extinction to The Last Night that seemed like the franchise was still going is long gone. From 2018 onward, the identity of the movie franchise has changed. Bumblebee might have been a decent addition, but it didn't make as much money. But you can excuse that as a spin-off. The next movie afterwards is Rise of the Beast. Good as it was nonetheless average, and it made an average box office. Is the interest still there? Then it is confirmed with Transformers 1. It flopped, though it was positively received. But will people recognize that movie in comparison? Would they even put it in the same boat with the live-action, photorealistic Transformers? You must consider those factors and the factor of the reception of The Last Night. At this point, this is a gamble. This is Lights 126 saying to all are one.